Shelly. Nice to see you. This
Hello.
is Shelly Mathis.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us today and sharing your story with us. I want to ask you a couple questions that are really going to focus on your experience following your husband's death. And tell me his name.
John Mathis.
John Mathis. And how long were you married?
We were married 30 years. He was my
Okay.
college sweetheart.
Wow.
And, when I met him as a freshman at University of Texas in Austin, we, love at first sight. And so I spent probably, 36 years with him.
Wow.
Including, from freshman year on. So.
Wow. So how would you want him to be remembered if you were to say the things that really stick out for you about John?
He was the strong, silent, gentle, compassionate type. He was a superb athlete. In fact, he threw the javelin and shot put for the University of Texas. But he had the kindest heart in the world.
Mm. Nice things to leave as a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And how old was he when he passed away?
He was 54.
And how old were you then?
52.
Do you get to share that? I'm sorry, maybe that's a question I don't have to ask the women.
Oh, that's okay.
And tell me a little bit about, was his death sudden? Did he have a long illness?
No, he had all the characteristics to have heart problems. It was in his family. He'd had rheumatic fever as a child. He had that build, that upper body muscular, he had just about every characteristic except diabetes, that you could have to point you toward heart issues. But, he had a sudden heart attack. It was fatal. And it was on September 4th, the week before the September 11th attacks on our nation.
So, wow, with him passing away right before September 11th, 2001, you were already grieving, and then the whole nation starts grieving. How did that event affect your grief? How did it make you feel about your own grief?
Well, it probably brought me down to a much lower level, seeing that on television and knowing how I felt. Mentally, I was not well, and seeing all that happen just made me think it must be the end of the world, because planes kept crashing and crashing and crashing, and then I started thinking about all those innocent victims, and then their family members would be, all these 3,000 people or so that died, all their that many more family members were going to be feeling like I was feeling. And, it just felt like such a hopeless, horrible thing.
Because you felt so horrible, and then you felt like all these other people were going to feel as bad as you did.
Right. And one interesting thing, my husband was an organ donor, and somebody told me that they took his skin as, one of the organs, and somebody told me that they took a lot of skin from Dallas to New York. So I thought, well, gosh, if that helped out anybody, any burn victim, then, that made me actually very happy that he had been an organ donor.
Yeah, because you could see the good works of that. But they don't really necessarily follow up with you to let you know where that ended up. But what a great feeling to know.
Yeah, it was
that
a
was
good thought,
So,
if I had to have suffer, then, maybe something good could happen for somebody else, So.
Which makes us all want to make sure we've gotten our own organ donation done. I know I have mine done. I was just looking at that 2 weeks ago, as a matter of fact, so that's a great thing that he did.